Hopefully
No
you're
problem.
able to see everything that I've been screen sharing when you watch the video back. Sometimes it might be black, but it should be okay.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so the next question I have for you is when you have a board like Ace 9-4, right? Um, if if button if a button always bet, what is the number one way? Or like they always bet like the only hand they check is like 10-9, Jack 9, sevens, eights.
Okay. Middle value.
Yeah. What would be the way to exploit that player?
Hmm. I am on B blind.
Mm-hmm.
The way is to check a lot is on the turn.
Check a lot on turn.
Check a lot value on turn. A good.
If they what if check a lot of value on turn? Wait.
Uh,
So they're only checking back 10-9, 8, sevens, but then if you have ace jack, you're gonna check again on turn?
no, it's Jack and no probably, but sorry.
Oh, I see. Like bluffs. You're not gonna bluff it.
Start again. I am on B blind. My
Hmm.
opponent check a lot of mid value, like
Yeah.
9x.
Yeah. How do
Okay.
you change your strategy to hurt them if they like always bet ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, but they never bet 10-9, 9-8?
Uh, but now we are on check bottom check, no?
Yeah, button checks, turn is like deuce. Now we're in the big blind. We decide how do we change our strategy
Uh,
to exploit?
Probably full check the range. Oh, but I don't know, bet only value like is Jack IST.
Okay, maybe
Is
they also check hands like weaker hands like queen three of hearts or something. They just kind of give up. Like the range looks normal. It's like the same as before.
probably
It's just that
I can.
they replace ace 10 with 10-9.
I don't know. Probably I can bet small sides, a big part of my range.
Okay, great. I'm glad you said that. I can bet small with a big part of my range because that is wrong in a good way. Wrong in a way that we'll talk about. So, um, the solver, right? The solver doesn't really care about bluffs. Bluffs are an afterthought. The way the theory of poker works is value bets capture EV and bluffs capture zero EV, but bluffs allow the value bets to make money because if there were no bluffs, then you just fold everything, right?
Okay.
So the other principle that is important to understand is different value bet sizes intrinsically, like always, capture different amounts of EV in theory. So most people think that uh, most people think like let's imagine that we have a graph here, right? And is this is size. Wait, which one is size? Which one's value? So no, let's make this size, and then this
Value.
is value, right? What do you think the line looks like as the size of the bet changes? Like, would it look, for example, like this? Uh, because when they bet larger sizes, there are more folds.
No, I think is uh, oblique oblique way. So
Okay, so
we bet.
it's not a straight line.
No, not the straight line.
What would so like yeah, so I think you're right. I think oblique means what I think it means. So like
Yeah.
in truth, it looks like this,
Yes.
right? Yeah. And eventually what happens is that it flattens. Like this becomes like
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's okay.
close to zero difference, right?
Yes.
Decimal is different. Um, but what this means, right, is that if we can place a 250% pot bet instead of a 50% pot bet, we're capturing like 3, 4 times the amount of value.
Mm,
And remember that it's a zero-sum game, so expected value is the same as value, right?
okay.
And so your opponent, like also importantly, like let's say on the river, you always can have the nuts and your opponent can never have the nuts. Like let's say the board is like Jack, 10, 3, 5, Queen, no flush, button versus big blind. We have ace king sometimes. They never have ace king. And there's like $10,000 left behind and $100 in the pot. What's the theoretically correct size to bet with ace king?
Uh, probably uh, probably a big size.
Yeah, the correct answer is infinite. Like however many chips there are, that's the amount you bet. And obviously it will matter less and less and less, but you'll make an extra $0.0000001 when you bet 552,000 times the size of the pot as opposed to 285 times the size of the pot, right? It
Okay.
doesn't really matter, but the correct answer is infinite, right?
Okay.
Like this graph continues to go up slowly for infinity, right?
Okay. Right.
The bigger a bet we place, the more EV it captures. Now, in terms of real life, the real mistake is betting 75% when you can afford to bet 3 times the size of the pot, right? That's the real mistake that matters,
Okay.
right? So, and that's usually what will happen is like you'll be allowed to 2x shove the river with ace king. And if you miss it, you've made a big mistake, right?
Right.
So our job is imagine the solver is being born. It's like learning things. It's trying to understand the world. It's getting more complicated over time. What it's learning first is when you have a hand with lots of equity, it gets to bet a big size and make lots of money. That's just like the basic.
Okay.
And what makes a hand good is how good it is versus our opponent's range, of course, right?
Right.
Like it's not a set is not good or bad. It's just how good is it versus our opponent's range. So if our opponent always checks 10-9 here, and they never check a 7 here, right? A 7 always bets. So their range on the turn is capped at middle pair. Then what happens is, and we actually already see this, right, is that we're placing big, 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 big bets. But what happens is that if we, oh, sorry, big blind here. We're placing big, big bets. But what happens here is we don't need ace 9 to value bet anymore. Now we can start betting a geometric size with ace 3, ace 8, right? Ace 10. Even maybe like a hand like king 9. Even a hand like king 9 because we're checking back no ace, right? These hands can all place extremely high expected value bets. They can all place bets that are like
Yeah,
this.
because
Well, actually,
because operand is capped and have a mid value
yeah,
like a
yeah,
dominate 9.
yeah. So we hear this sometimes, right? We don't like being capped. It hurts to be capped. It hurts when our opponents polarize against a capped range. This is why. Because big value bets capture big EV.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can test this for yourself if you want. Like if you understand how minimum defense frequency works, right?
Yeah.
You know the formula?
No, I don't remember.
Well, like you don't, but you could do it in your like if someone bets half pot on the river, what's MDF? How often are you supposed to call?
I need to call uh, uh, 50%. You bet 50.
Simple simplest way to think about it is what odds does your opponent get on a bluff?
Then
So if they bet half pot, they get 2 to 1.
Okay, if we bet half pot, I need uh, 25% win.
No, they
33,
have to 33. Yeah.
33, yeah.
Yeah, 2 to 1, 33 to 66, right?
Yeah,
And if they bet pot, they're getting 1 to 1.
one
So
to
how
one.
often is
Yeah,
minimum?
one to
So
one.
if that's 50,
50, yeah.
right? And if you want, you can test this for yourself. Like if you plug in the amount that they get called times the amount they win when called, you'll see the expected values change. So